can control nature.
Clouds come swirling in. Lightning is coming down.
They can access other dimensions.
This energy enables them to travel into the realm of spirit beings
and connect with otherworldly beings.
Those creatures actually existed in physical form.
Throughout history, spiritual leaders known as shamans have healed, protected, and advised their people. But are they simply putting on elaborate ceremonies? Or is there something more to their rituals?
In a sense, in these shamanistic states, you're tapping into extraterrestrial powers.
Millions of people around the world believe we have been visited in the past by extraterrestrial beings. What if it were true? Did ancient aliens really help to shape our history? And if so, might the evidence lie with mystical healers known as the shamans? Northern China, 1211 AD. 5 years after uniting the nomadic tribes of Mongolia, Genghis Khan launches a brutal invasion against Chinese Jin forces. Despite being severely outnumbered, the Mongol army decimates their enemy. In what is believed to be one of the bloodiest battles in Genghis Khan's more than 20 years of conquest. By the time of his death in 1227, his empire, covering most of Asia, Russia, and parts of Europe, had become the largest in the world.
Genghis Khan was a great warrior. He amassed one of the most awesome armies in the history of the planet. And he would go up the mountains to commune with the sky gods to gain power for his battles.
According to historical accounts, the Great Khan was also described as relying on powerful magic to create severe weather on demand, like hailstorms, hurricanes, and tornadoes, to confound and defeat his enemies.
They march into battle, and the next thing you know, clouds come swirling in. Lightning is coming down. Rain is falling down. Ice is falling down. Chunks of hail, snow. The soldiers are not equipped for this sudden burst of cold. They're shivering, they're freezing, they're slipping and falling on the ice, and then they get totally wiped out by the invading Mongolian army.
What was remarkable about Genghis Khan is that we tend to think about him today as being this despotic, mad, cruel ruler. He was a priest king, something known as a shaman.
In Mongolian culture, certain members of the tribe were thought to have the ability to communicate directly with the gods, accessing seemingly supernatural powers and information. These holy prophets were commonly known as shamans. Is it possible that Genghis Khan, one of the greatest conquerors in human history, used his connection with the divine to build the massive Mongol Empire? And if so, just what does it mean to be a shaman? For thousands of years, in cultures throughout the world, shamans have been described as intermediaries who provide a link between humans and other worldly beings. Known in some cultures as medicine men or witch doctors, they are believed to have the power to travel to other realms in order to bring back healing, wisdom, and guidance to their people. The word shaman originated with the indigenous people of Siberia and means simply to know.
Shamans think of the universe as being constructed in different layers, one on top of each other, each one containing a separate world. One of the skills of the shaman is to be able to travel herself or himself between these different worlds in spirit form. Shamans are people who enter those realms and negotiate with the intelligent beings that inhabit those realms.
But are shamans simply experiencing hallucinations? Daydreams manifested in their minds?
Ja, men I see.
Or is it possible that their visions are real? Dismissed by some today as madmen or charlatans, in the ancient world, shamans like Genghis Khan often held positions of great influence. And ancient astronaut theorists claim the stories of these shamans reveal a connection to otherworldly beings.
Da, vad det
For
är.
hunger, I pray. God, you made this poor little guy, so maybe you can help him out.
Heart isn't beating, Sarah. That
Then I saw God standing on the other side of the lake.
I always thought that you were kind of special.
You see him?
Who?
God.
You saw God and then brought a dead bird back to life.
No, I didn't. God did.
Where'd you get this?
I drew it when I came home tonight.
You drew this?
It just sounds like she has a healthy imagination to me.
She would never outright lie. My cat died last week. I was wondering if you could stop by and bring it back to life.
Mom, it really was God.
Sir, do you think you can help me walk again?
I don't know.
Could you say a prayer for me?
So, tell me what this medical emergency is all about.
I moved my toes this morning.
I can't explain what happened in there. Severed nerves and spinal cord can't be genuine.
Mom? I thought he was never supposed to walk again.
Well, he wasn't.
It was Sarah.
I keep fighting voices in my mind.
It's not a healthy affair with other people to pretend that you're actually having conversations with God.
I'm not pretending.
Is Sarah Hopkins a miracle worker? It's about to turn her world upside down.
I don't think I can take this much excitement.
Yeah, hold on to your hat. There's going to be a lot more of it.
Guys, these people want to see Sarah.
I know that I was seeing God. Everything Sarah told us was true.
I'm just a lucky girl who God decided to visit. Truth is, all you have to do is believe in God and pray to Him. He's listening.
This one is just sweeter than chocolate.
It's impossible. You're beginning to catch on.
Copan, Western Honduras. In the ruins of this archaeological site, once a major Mayan city that thrived from 400 to 800 AD, stands a statue of one of its most powerful ancient kings, Washa Clahun Ubacahuillo, commonly known as 18 Rabbit.
Around 2,000 years ago, the Mayan Empire was at its height. And they had a king by the name of 18 Rabbit. The rabbit, to the ancient Mayans, represented the moon. So basically, 18 Rabbit was considered to be an incarnation of the moon god. And he is said to have had all sorts of miraculous powers.
By the end of his 44-year reign, 18 Rabbit had erected 7 stone pillars, each depicting him interacting with the divine.
The Stela of Copan shows King 18 Rabbit standing in the center of the universe.
but on the side of him is a portal to another world. So it would seem to be telling us that he had access to the other world as well as being the commander-in-chief of this world.
Today, we separate politics and religion. In the past, especially for the Mayan, that was not the case. To be the king was to also be supernatural, to have shamanic ability. You were not just a king, you were a shaman king. And 18 Rabbit, like every other king in the dynasty of Copan and in the cities around them, was a shaman.
According to Maya tradition, shaman kings like 18 Rabbit would connect with otherworldly beings through a process known as bloodletting.
The Mayan king would put a spine through his hand. Blood would be collected by the shaman into a piece of paper, and it would then be put into a fire, and it would smoke. And by watching the smoke rise, the shaman could see what actions they were supposed to take, according to the will of the gods revealed in the smoke that was made by the blood of the king or the ruler.
The right to rulership for a Maya king, the thing that the people followed him for, was his ability to contact the other world. Through shamanic ceremonies, he was able to ask for the favor of the gods for the people.
18 Rabbit was a very powerful shaman king. You have to ask, is it possible that these gods could be extraterrestrials? And perhaps it was the guidance of these extraterrestrial beings that made him such a powerful leader. All around the world, we can hear stories of how shamans state that they were in communications with beings from other worlds. Is it possible that what we see in the experiences of ancient shamans is extraterrestrial human contact? And this contact wasn't seen as something dangerous or strange, but rather as a means for moving humanity forward due to new and important knowledge received.
Were kings like 18 Rabbit really communicating with divine, perhaps even extraterrestrial beings? Was it this otherworldly guidance that made them so powerful? But if so, where did these ancient shamans learn how to access these incredible abilities? Ancient astronaut theorists believe the answers can be found by examining the transformative and sometimes dangerous process of becoming a shaman. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, January 27th, 2014. A Peruvian-born shaman leads a group of participants in an ancient Andean practice. Known as a despacho ceremony, this ritual dates back thousands of years.
In Peru, despachos or jaiwas, which are offerings, have existed since the first pre-Columbian peoples settled the Andes and coastal area. Despacho consists of a ritual honoring with reverence our ancestral star relatives in the cosmos that have been guiding the evolution of humankind on planet Earth. Every time I perform a Pachacuti ritual, portals are open. Conduits between the earth and the sky are revealed.
It is believed that through ceremonies such as the despacho, shamans are in fact able to access these so-called non-local realms of being in the universe. That helps to unify those of Earth with those from the sky.
If shamans really are able to access these so-called non-local realms.
Dad?
Hey, baby girl. My life had not always been this good.
are they doing it? And who, or what, has chosen them to be the ones to communicate with beings from beyond our world?
I came into this shamanic tradition as a result of deep curiosity as a child. I learned from my two primary mentors in folk healing known as curanderismo the following. The spirit world is here with us. Let us celebrate through that portal to the stars. I was introduced to a universe in which seen as well as unseen relatives and allies and spirit helpers abound. And forming relationships with these spirit helpers was the foundation of my apprenticeship.
But who are the spirit helpers? Are they actual beings who exist in a realm most of us are unable to experience? Ancient astronaut theorists believe the answer may be found in the story of a famous Native American shaman. Bighorn Mountain Range, Wyoming. Nearly 10,000 feet up on a desolate peak that is only accessible during the brief summer months lies a structure known as the Bighorn Medicine Wheel. This massive stone circle measures over 75 feet in diameter and contains 28 spokes representing the lunar cycle. By studying the astronomical alignments of the stones, researchers were able to date the construction of the site to approximately 1200 AD. Although it is held sacred by over 60 different Native American tribes, just who built the medicine wheel remains a mystery.
So the Bighorn Medicine Wheel is significant to a lot of tribes because it has this connection to a lot of different traditions in terms of star knowledge and star power and ceremony.
According to the oral tradition of the Crow tribe, the 19th century leader Red Plume made a journey to the medicine wheel as a young man that shaped his destiny as a powerful shaman and chief.
The medicine wheel, you connect to particular constellations that are kind of like vortexes between certain star energy and certain earth energy. And the medicine wheel seems to be creating some place that marks the particular spot at a particular time where those star energies and earth energies and human energy come together.
During what the Crow tribe call his vision quest, Red Plume claimed to have encountered a mysterious race of beings he called Little People.
He was visited, he said, by these little men who then took him inside the earth into some kind of a vortex wormhole. There, they taught him secrets of medicine.
There are lots of stories about little people in native tradition across the Americas. The little people come from another planet and they kind of play around with human beings, but they're also protectors of them, teaching them even through that playfulness.
Is it possible that this medicine man was actually meeting with extraterrestrials who then taught him some medical secrets and then allowed him to return back to his people?
These stories didn't originate in our ancestors' imagination. There is a core of truth to all those stories. And so those beings, are they in reality of extraterrestrial origin, something physical, flesh and blood? Absolutely. Those beings are the progenitors of knowledge.
Could the stories of the Bighorn Medicine Wheel be describing extraterrestrial contact? Is this where shamans like Red Plume acquired wisdom from otherworldly beings? In cultures throughout the world, there are stories of shamanic initiation at the hands of so-called spirits. Oftentimes, the process is described as dangerous. In fact, many healers are said to be taken against their will for this instruction.
When shamans narrate their life stories, they usually do not say, well, I chose to be a shaman. The healer does not choose her or his profession. They are chosen by the spirits.
A shaman is usually called, and there's some sort of wound that the shaman sustains. It can be any bizarre malady, being struck by lightning, epileptic fits, bad accident, anything that wounds.
Price pinch, give it the hammer. Workload overload, give it the hammer. Stuck in a funk, give it the hammer. Hard times.
Wounds the person, enables them to go inward. It's quite a hardship, it's not something that anybody who really knows about it would readily undertake.
Once the spirits have got you, you either die or remain permanently sick or become a shaman. There aren't a lot of ways out. You often go mad for a bit or fall sick for a bit as the spirits take possession of you. And then you go through a visionary process in which, for example, quite often you feel your entire body being taken apart and then put back together again. And when you're back together again, you're starting to acquire the abilities to travel through time and space.
Why would so many of these traditional healers share this belief that they had been chosen and physically changed by spirits? Some ancient astronaut theorists believe more clues can be found by examining the similarities between these shamanic experiences and the stories of modern-day UFO abductions.
People who believe they've been abducted by aliens will speak of implants being put in their bodies, put there by the aliens. Exactly the same experiences are reported in much more traditional cultures, shamanistic cultures. The construal there is that this is being done by the spirits. And the similarity between the two experiences are very, very, very strong, very, very powerful.
Perhaps what's happening is that you're really in contact with some kind of extraterrestrials. And in a sense, in these shamanistic states, you're tapping into what we would almost call extraterrestrial powers.
Is it possible that shamans received their mysterious powers through alien abductions? And might this explain why shamans all over the world claim to have a connection to other realms? Perhaps the answers can be found in the strange and powerful visions experienced by shamans in the Amazon. The Amazon jungle, Peru. Stretching from the Andes Mountains to the eastern shores of Brazil, this rainforest is home to more than 80,000 species of plants, many of which shamans and religious healers have consumed for thousands of years. As a way to access realms they say are inhabited by otherworldly beings.
In the Amazon, one of the shaman's jobs, aside from going to the other world and speaking with the spirits, is to find the plants right here on Earth that can heal the people of his tribe. And in the Amazonian belief systems, each plant in the jungle has its own spirit. And one of the shaman's gifts is that he can communicate with these plant spirits.
Originating in the central Andes of South America, ayahuasca, meaning the vine of the souls, is a psychedelic brew consisting of two different types of plants cooked with water.
And this is drunk by the shaman, but in order to enter the spirit world, to gain information about diseases, to foresee the future, to carry out a healing for somebody. We know some of the history of ayahuasca because archaeologists have found artifacts from the rainforest which date back 3,500 or 4,000 years. But those are only the surviving artifacts that they've found. Potentially, this could go back to the beginning of time.
Ayahuasca contains dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, one of the most powerful hallucinogens known to man. But strangely, this chemical compound only works when consumed under precise conditions.
Ingest DMT, it's inactivated in the intestine by certain enzymes. So in order to get the DMT to be activated and to be able to be absorbed, they had to combine it with other plants.
Ayahuasca contains a mixture of two plants. There's actually quite subtle and sophisticated knowledge of plants goes into the preparation, because these two things separately will not work. You have to mix them together, and let's not forget that there's 150,000 different species of plants and trees in the Amazon. It's really quite an amazing achievement of ancient chemistry to bring these two plants together to produce a highly psychoactive visionary brew.
But how did ancient people living in the jungles of Peru over 3,000 years ago, with tens of thousands of plants to choose from, figure out that combining these two particular plants would produce these powerful visions? According to the mythology of the Ashwer people of the Amazon, their ancestors didn't discover this on their own, but were guided by extraterrestrial beings.
The shamans communicated with their spirits and were told to go into the jungle and turn two corners, as the myth goes, and then they would find this plant, and they brought that back to the village, prepared it in the appropriate way.
The oral tradition says that ayahuasca is a linkage to the upper world, and it is entirely possible that they were given this gift by their own gods, which may be extraterrestrials.
If the Ashwer story of how their ancestors discovered ayahuasca is true, could they have been guided not by spirits, but by extraterrestrial beings?
I remember you saying, I won't forget the life jackets.
Who talks like that?
You apparently.
Can we watch the replay?
I would love it.
This What Really Happened replay is brought to you by Progressive. One thing no one would challenge, protecting your home and auto with Progressive.
Oh, that is embarrassing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I'll have another. Make it a double.
Who are you talking to?
Vincent, my server. He's from San Diego.
Dad, Mom thinks she's at a resort again.
Yeah, she told me.
When you'd rather not resort to a virtual resort.
This is my...
Beings who communicated with them on another plane of reality. Between 1990 and 1995, scientists at the University of New Mexico administered DMT, the active ingredient in ayahuasca, to 60 volunteers and discovered shocking results.
Medical researchers actually administered DMT to patients in a controlled medical setting, and they had exactly the same experiences as those reported in the jungles of South America and elsewhere who were experiencing ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca users typically experience hallucinations in the visual form, and a lot of them say that they see other beings, and a lot of them say that they get messages sent to them from these beings.
In several cases, those intelligent entities said to them roughly the following: "We're so pleased you've discovered this technology. Now we can communicate with you more often." That's what we're dealing with here, is intelligent inhabitants of other dimensions.
Why would so many people report such similar experiences while using ayahuasca? Is it possible DMT provides access to another realm?
Some shamans believe that plants like ayahuasca have an extraterrestrial origin, that they drifted here as space spores, perhaps, and then came to Earth on comets, started growing here. And perhaps they even have an agenda. Perhaps they are communication from extraterrestrials.
Is it possible extraterrestrials gave the ancients the recipe for this powerful concoction as a way to communicate healing powers with shamans? And if so, might the very core of mankind's knowledge about medicine have come from an otherworldly source? Huashan Mountain, China. This 7,000-foot-high peak in the Shanxi province is believed to have been the place where Shenong, a benevolent emperor that ruled the area more than 4,500 years ago, was conceived. According to accounts from the Han Dynasty, Shenong not only introduced agriculture to mankind, but also developed a profound knowledge of Chinese herbs.
Shenong pledged that he would venture out into the world and test every plant on the planet in order to determine its benefits for humans and also to catalog the more toxic or dangerous effects of ingesting these plants. Sometimes you would ingest, of course, poisonous plants, and you would suffer poisonings up to 70 times per day.
More than 2,000 years later, Shenong's findings were compiled in the Divine Farmer's Herb Root Classic, a medical journal that became one of the foundations of Chinese medicine. But just how could this mysterious being have tested so many herbs, some even containing deadly poisons?
Shenong was a quite unusual person. It said that he had a transparent stomach, and he himself, after ingesting these poisons, would look into his own stomach and see how these poisons were interacting with himself, and then he would take the antidotes for it. So you have to wonder if he's not some kind of